Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's 5 minutes past 5, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. I have not been on that time since the 26th of March 2019. Last time I was in Australian Eastern Daylight Time. I am so in my happy place right now. Let me go back a couple of, week and a half maybe. When I left Fremantle to go down to Nannup, I was in a bit of a bad way. My back was just getting back to square, but my legs were an absolute mess. I was in real drama. In fact, I thought I was going to have to go into hospital and get an infection sorted out. It was that bad. I thought I was going to have to can the festival and not go. I went, but I only just. While I was down in Nannup, I bought two things, I think on the Saturday. One is a brush, exfoliating, probably both. Brush, and also from a lovely Indigenous woman, I bought a big jar, I think it's in here somewhere, big jar of this stuff. Very similar to the stuff that I was using when I was in Buntua. Look, it's in there somewhere. It's an old jam jar. You may have seen it on the other ones. Anyway, it's in there somewhere. Details. Those two things, within 24 hours, had my legs very much better than they had been. And I'm going to say now I'm roughly at around about 90%. And the other 10% I can deal with quite easily. Have a look at this place. This is my... I used to work as a travel manager, as an accommodation manager in the tax office, and I used to flip around the country, and people were just aghast at the fact that I didn't stay in 5 or 6 or at least 4-star accommodation. No, I'm much happier in 2 and 2.5 star accommodation. Look at this battered old fridge. Tea and coffee, okay, not particularly happy about the Nescafe, but, it's enough for one night. Look at my beautiful view. I love it. And right out there, a main road. But by the time I jump into bed tonight, see, in my time it's only 2 o'clock in my head, but I've been up and I've had a day. A couple of other things. I asked a couple of people yesterday, or hinted at the fact that I was after a favour. And what it was I left Busselton yesterday morning about an hour later than I planned to. And then I did get distracted. Having said I wouldn't get distracted, I did get distracted. And then I was heading in around about Baldivis or Baldivis or whatever it's called, and realised, wait a minute, I think Apollo closes at 4:30. And round about when I got to about Bull Creek, pulled over and checked it again. No, they closed at 4. So there was no possible way I could get back there in time. But the only problem is that the compound doesn't open until 9 o'clock this morning, and my plane was leaving at 10 past 9. So I started to look into options. Didn't panic, I just thought, okay, well maybe I can move my flight. No, I'm pretty sure I bought a non-refundable, but even if I did trash that ticket and buy another one, within 24 hours, it's a long weekend in Melbourne coming up, in Victoria coming up, I probably was going to be paying an arm, a leg, and the rest of the torso. Long story short, I approached a few people. One person I know, Muso, who's also does chauffeur driving, limousine driving. He was busy, couldn't do it. I explored a couple of other options, and in the end I went back to a bloke who helped me out one night when I moved out of Melville after midnight in some distress. Every single piece of anything that I owned out on the front lawn at about 1 in the morning. And this bloke, it's a long story. Let's just say that I was going to a place called 30 Recreation Road in Hamilton Hill, and in my confusion, I booked an Uber, or a Didi, for 30 Recreation Road, Kalamunda. So let's just say that I paid $145 for a trip that never happened, and then I paid another $30 or $40 to get to Hamilton Hill. That was interesting. But anyway, I kept the guy's name and number, and let's just say that I paid him a lot of money today to drive around to a petrol station in Northbridge, leave his car there, drive the Apollo van back to Apollo out at Redcliffe, then get his way back to Northbridge and drive off again. But it was worth it for the money that I paid him, and it's worth it to the guy who owns the garage at the petrol station, and I left him... It's called a Gentleman's Republic something or other. It's like a Swiss Army knife, only it's in the shape of a hammer, if that makes any sense. And I bought it down in Nannup on the weekend, possibly on the Monday. And last night in the hotel room in Perth, I realised that I hadn't left it in the storage shed. I brought it with me, and it wasn't allowed in that. And it certainly wasn't allowed in that either, because it's got a little axe head on it. And even with a plastic guard on it, the rules state, nah, not allowed in that, not allowed in that. So I gifted that to the bloke, the mechanic, and he took an envelope with some cash and the keys to the Apollo van. And after I arrived at Melbourne Airport this afternoon, at we landed about 4, so about 4:30 I was standing outside having to download the DD rideshare thing again, because this phone is a replacement for the phone that I dropped into the footbath. And I hadn't loaded it up before, don't know why not. I got a little message saying, yep, drop the van off, they're all happy, they're releasing your bond. And I smiled, turned to Scott Patz, turned to the world, and I said at the top of my lungs, much to the bemusement of certain Melburnians and other people, I have exorcised the demons. From somewhere out in the boonies of Melbourne, ready to wait a little bit longer and the bistro will be open and I can go and have some lunch, but never mind, it's dinner for them. It's Bill Quinn saying, pretty happy little camper, back to my cruising weight, never mind the fact I've got a storage shed full of shit back in Fremantle. So I think I'm going to give Scott Patz the night off. I'll hide him away because, not too far, because I've got to make sure he comes with me tomorrow. And tomorrow, I'm going to pick up another Apollo van and we'll be off on the road to Port Fairy. I'll see you if I'm looking at you, but bye for now.